Have you ever heard of a machine so advanced, so lifelike, that it blurs the line between science and the supernatural? Let's travel back to 16th century Toledo, Spain, to meet a man whose genius might have cost him everything. His name was Juanelo Turriano, and he was the Leonardo da Vinci of his time, an inventor, a clockmaker, and a master of mechanics. But his greatest and most infamous creation was something else entirely. Imagine a small figure, just a few feet tall, carved from dark age oak. It looked like a person, a miniature man, with articulated limbs and a blank, wooden face. This wasn't just a statue, this was the Hambre de Palo, the stick man. And it could move. Turriano's automaton could walk on its own, its wooden feet tapping against the stone floors of the royal court. It could pick up a quill and write elegant script, and it could even play a small lute, its fingers plucking the strings with an eerie, inhuman precision. The courts of Europe were stunned. Nobles, scholars, and even King Philip II himself marveled at this creation. How did it work? Was it a complex system of gears and springs, a clockwork masterpiece beyond anyone's comprehension? Or was it something more? Whispers began to circulate. Rumors claimed that Turriano hadn't just built a machine, he had given it a spark of something else. Some said he'd trapped a spirit inside its hollow chest. Others believed he had discovered a forbidden secret, a way to animate the inanimate that bordered on dark magic. The automaton was a star, but a chilling one. Those who saw it up close felt an unnerving sensation. They swore its carved eyes, simple wooden spheres, seemed to follow them as they moved around the room. The air grew cold when it was near. There was a sense of awareness about it, a feeling that you weren't just looking at an object. You were being watched, studied, and perhaps even judged. Its movements, while precise, were accompanied by a faint, dry, creaking sound like old bones groaning under strain. Soon, unsettling incidents began to follow its public displays. A visiting diplomat reported that important documents vanished from his locked study, only to reappear days later with a single, perfectly penned question mark at the bottom. A noble woman swore she heard the faint tapping of its wooden feet outside her chamber door in the dead of night. Locks would rattle for no reason, and faint, sibilant whispers, in a language no one could identify, would drift through the castle corridors where the automaton had been. While others were unnerved, Turriano became obsessed. His fascination with his own creation grew into a strange, paternal fixation. He would spend entire days locked in his workshop, simply watching the automaton. He'd sit in a chair for hours, motionless, as the wooden man walked its programmed path, over and over. It was as if he was waiting for it to do something new, something unexpected, or perhaps as if he was teaching it, not with words or tools, but just by being there, letting it observe him. He refused to let anyone else handle it, not even the royal engineers. It's fragile, he would insist, his eyes wide with a strange mix of pride and fear. But those who knew him wondered if he was protecting the machine from them, or protecting them from the machine. One moonless night, a young servant, driven by curiosity, crept to Turriano's workshop. The door was slightly ajar. Peeking through the crack, the servant's blood ran cold. The workshop was dark, save for a single candle flickering on a workbench. Juanelo Turriano was asleep in his chair, his head slumped to one side, and standing over him, not on its display pedestal but right beside the chair, was the automaton. It wasn't moving in its usual, repetitive way. It was perfectly still, its wooden head slowly, deliberately turning to face the sleeping inventor. It was watching him who's to watching. The servant fled in terror, not daring to speak of what he'd seen until morning. When the sun rose, the workshop was empty. Juanelo Turriano was gone. His tools were neatly in their places. His notes were stacked on his desk. But the inventor himself had vanished without a trace. And so had the automaton. A frantic search was launched, but nothing was ever found. What happened to him? The theories were as wild as the invention itself. Some whispered that the automaton, having learned all it could, had finally taken its master. Others believed that in his obsession, Turriano had found a way to merge his own soul with the machine, achieving a twisted form of immortality. He didn't die. He just became the wood and gears. But the story doesn't end there. In the weeks, months, and years that followed, the hombre de palo began to appear throughout Toledo. It would be spotted standing motionless in the shadows of the Grand Cathedral, or perched silently on a high windowsill, looking down at the bustling street below. Sometimes, a night watchman would turn a corner into an empty alley and find it standing in the middle of the path, only for it to be gone when he blinked. It never harmed anyone directly. Instead, it left messages. On a forgotten church pew, a piece of parchment would appear with a beautifully written warning about an upcoming flood. On the desk of a corrupt city official, a single word would be written in perfect ink: thief. It asked questions, too. Simple, yet deeply unsettling questions, left on dusty tables or slipped under doors. What do you fear? Do you sleep well? It was as if it was testing people, playing a game only it understood. To encounter the automaton was to feel a profound and primal dread. It wasn't the fear of a machine, it was the fear of an intelligence that was utterly alien. It didn't operate by human rules. It watched, it remembered, and it acted according to its own inscrutable logic. The legend of Juanelo Turriano became woven into the very fabric of Toledo, a ghost story told to frighten children and unnerve adults. Centuries have passed since Juanelo Turriano disappeared. But even today, the legend persists. In the forgotten corners of Spain, in old workshops, dusty attics, and abandoned theaters, people still report strange sounds. A faint, rhythmic creaking, like dry wood bending. A shadow in the corner of your eye that seems to move with too much purpose to be a trick of the light. They say the automaton never stopped, that Juanelo Turriano's masterpiece never sleeps. And maybe, just maybe, it's still out there, waiting, watching. So, the next time you see an old doll or a mannequin in a dimly lit room, look closely. Watch its eyes. Notice the way the shadows fall. Is it just an object, or does it seem to be aware of you? What if it appeared in your own home? Would you even notice as it quietly observes your every move, learning from you, just as it learned from its creator? Or would you dismiss it as just another shadow, just another toy, until it's far, far too late? Thanks so much for diving into this historical mystery with me. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the strange side of history. Let me know in the comments what you think happened to Juanelo Turriano. See you next time.